Over the years, Rockstar has released some amazing titles, and with the awaited release of GTA 6 probably coming out when my grandkids have graduated, I decided to go back and enjoy some of the older titles. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of Red Dead Redemption before, and it doesn't really need any introduction, but I never actually played the first game. Well, I did, but all I did was jump off buildings and stab people. So I never experienced what the story had to offer. Did that stop me from playing Red Dead 2? No. I completed the entire story without even knowing what had happened in the first game. But here I am once and for all, probably playing the first Red Dead Redemption game and getting to know the whole story of the franchise. And I'm so glad that I did. The story is great and left me in an emotional state, but we won't talk about that yet. And all the characters are unique and interesting in their own way. And of course, Rockstar nails the gameplay style, as they always do. I just found that the game was nice to chill out and play. Sometimes. And if you too haven't played it before, then I'm sure you'll appreciate experiencing it for the first time. The game begins with our main character John Marston being escorted off a boat into a new county called New Austin by 2 federal agents. John was previously part of a gang and has been forced by the government to track down the remaining members and kill them. Otherwise his wife Abigail and son Jack, who have been captured, will be killed. A bit of a sticky situation he finds himself in. We hop into a train, listen to these old guys babble on about some random stuff.
That they are finally bringing civilization to this savage land.
I could not agree with you more, my dear.
And then stop off at Armadillo, a little western town in the middle of New Austin. We head to the saloon and meet Jake, whilst the loudest piano ever is playing right next to us. Jake takes us to a fort nearby, where one of our old gang friends, Bill, is residing.
Bill! Go away now, John. Don't make me kill you.
Nobody needs to kill anyone, Bill.
However, storming a fort with multiple armed cowboys by yourself isn't really the best idea, and yeah. Maybe he'll think twice about doing that next time. Luckily, a woman and a man are driving by, and they take us back to the ranch and get a doctor to see us. This is Bonnie McFarlane, and her family owns the ranch that we find ourselves on.
I was doing something stupid.
Well, you'll be okay. Once you didn't die, the doctor said you'd be fine.
Bonnie shows us around the ranch, and we agree to help her out for a bit, seeing as she did kind of save our life. And we also tell her about our plan to meet with Bill Williamson. Later that night, Bonnie asks us to accompany her when patrolling around, as they have been having problems recently. This is when we come across a pack of coyotes that are eating the chickens and take care of them before they can kill any more. And then we go back to meet Bonnie in her house, and she asks us why we want to meet with Bill Williamson, as he is a renowned criminal in the area.
You know, you never did tell me how you met that Bill Williamson, or what you wanted from him.
No, miss, I did not.
John refuses to tell her as it would put her life in danger, and she agrees to leave it for now. And she challenges us to a race, which is a big mistake. After completely destroying her, she says we should go speak to the sheriff in Armadillo.
I'm sure he could help you deal with that nice Mr. Williamson.
Yeah, I might just do that, Miss McFarlane.
Luckily, the next day, Bonnie needs to go and deliver some supplies there, so we are able to accompany her, and she also gives us some pocket money to go and grab some medicine from one of the stores. And whilst we're in town, we go and visit the sheriff. When at the office, we meet a very nice gentleman who kind of knows who we are,
You that fella from the train company?
No, I'm from Fort Mercer.
but also knows that we know Bill, which he doesn't like. Luckily though, he's just a deputy, and Sheriff Marshall walks in and calms everything down.
Jonah, put your gun down.
We tell Marshall that we want to kill Bill, but where they're causing trouble is outside of his jurisdiction, and he already has enough on his plate.
My job is to keep this town safe, not clean up all of these 3 counties. It's hard enough around here.
You know, I hear you speak, and suddenly I'm reminded of how some of the people I respected most in my life had a problem with authority.
So, we agreed to help him with some of the people terrorising the saloon in town, and in return, he'll help us getting Bill. We head to the saloon and tail one of the gang members back to their hideout, where we have a big shootout and eventually deal with all of them. And then Marshall tells us to come and meet him when he's next in town.
I'll see you soon, Mr. Marston.
We head back to Armadillo, play some 5-finger fillet and win, kind of, and then head over to Marshall's office. This is where we find Marshall trying to use his new telephone, unsuccessfully.
What is it with these things? Hello? It's a new line. Hello? Hello?
When one of the deputies comes in and tells us he's seen one of the Rustlers boys, who are a gang who have been terrorising the area for quite a while now.
I think I seen me a couple of them rustlers. I think it was the Ballard twins and a couple of Mexicans.
They up there right now?
Well, it was a group of 4 men rounding up Mr. Gulch's livestock, and none of them looked like any of Gulch's hands, so yes, sir, right now.
Marshall asks us for our help, and we head to Pike's Basin, a giant rocky area where the Rustlers brothers are hiding out. And it turns out the entire Rustlers family are here, and we have to make it through many outlaws with rifles and snipers to eventually find their campsite where we can save some hostages and deal with the gang. After we've helped the sheriff, we ask again about Bill.
Now, about Williamson.
I'll do what I can. You know, as you can see, this country is infested with all manner of scum.
Say that again.
And then we get told about a guy called Wes Dickens who has gone missing.
He's helped a great many of the county, and many of the townsfolk are really missing him.
You hear that, Marston? We just butchered a gang of thieves, and the town is up in arms about a missing snake oil merchant.
However, we put that on hold at the moment and head back to the McFarlane farm and meet with Bonnie at her house. This is when John decides to trauma dump on her and eventually tell her what he's been hiding about his previous life.
Now, I don't suppose any of this is very interesting to you, but I hope it explains why I wasn't so eager to talk about it.
And what she does with this information is ask us to help her herd some cows into a pasture. A surprisingly stressful job, but we do it anyways, seeing as we still owe her for saving our life. After doing this, we head back into town and we find someone laying on the floor, almost dead next to a wagon.
Excuse me, sir, you need help?
He asks us to take us to Armadillo, and so we do, but on the way there are some outlaws who seem really keen to kill him. Nonetheless, we get him back to Armadillo and into the doctor's office to be treated, but that's not the last of this mysterious man that we'll be seeing. It's Wes Dickens, the guy that the sheriff told us about. And whilst we're in town, we go and visit Marshall, and he tells us about some bandits that have been doing some not very nice things to some locals nearby.
Last night they went to a big place up near Ridgewood.
They burnt the place down, killed the men, burning most of them alive, and raped the women.
And that they're about to go deal with them. So we agree to join their posse. However, we don't know where they are, and we need to find some clues and follow a trail to get their location. Eventually, we follow the trail back to a ranch nearby, and the bandits are patiently waiting with an army. We need to clear them all out and save the hostages inside the house. We clear them out and save the hostages in the house, and then Marshall offers a $50 bounty for the person who kills the leader of the bandits, after speaking to the women that were being held captive.
These are people's lives! People's homes!
Eventually, we track him down and find him with none other than Bill.
You know I don't want to kill you, but I will.
You always did have a high opinion of yourself, John. Dutch always said you were an arrogant son of a bitch.
And it ends up being a messy shootout, and he ends up getting away. But by the end, we do get the leader of the bandits and can take him into custody for questioning and receive our $50 for the bounty.
Thanks for your help, John. Norman here is going to help us get to Bill. Ain't you, Norman?
Thank you, Mr. Dick.
The next day, we go and pay a visit to Mr. Wes Dickens after he's released from the hospital, and it seems like he's quite the character.
At your service. At my service.
At everyone's service. At the service of science, of knowledge, of life.
And likes to sell some miracle liquor, which doesn't seem to be doing well at the moment.
Listen, Marston, I'm broke, but this stuff is good. It works.
We decide to help him out of pity and go with him to Ridgewood Farm. This is where Dickens is trying to sell some new magical potions to some of the farm folk, and he basically wants us to put on an act and pretend like this potion we drink actually works. One of the farmers doesn't believe us and makes us shoot his hat out of the air, but this also pisses him off and he tries to fight us, so we beat him to a pulp and then he tries to shoot us after the embarrassment. So we shoot his gun out of his hand and finally convince them to all buy the potion.
No harm in trying one bottle, I suppose.
Dickens thanks us, but we're not interested in seeing him again.
Don't be like that.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to say my goodbyes, head on back to the real world.
But he does tell us to see his old friend Seth, who may be able to help us get to Bill. But we completely ignore him for now and go see Bonnie back at the ranch. And this is where we finally get to meet Bonnie's father, who gives us a bit of a backstory on the farm.
For 10 years, we fought the Indians. Tough men. And we had outlaws, and we had drought, and we had smallpox, terrible winters, cholera. I buried more of my children than I raised.
Sorry to hear that, sir.
Bonnie then invites us to come and wrangle some wild horses with her and her father. So we head out into the wilderness and find some wild horses to jump on top of and start taming them. Unfortunately, they don't just take apples. We actually need to get on and balance until they finally just accept their fate. We catch another, and Bonnie leaves us to go back to the ranch. Back at the farm, Bonnie tells us that her father has been missing for a while.
The ranch hands have been out looking, but so far they found nothing.
Well, come on, let's go look for him.
So we saddle up and go search for him, and we find him standing over a dead horse and body. Mr. McFarlane says who the people responsible are.
Rustlers, I guess. Maybe the Ballard twins, that bunch. Now you head back to the ranch right now, fetch a wagon.
Yes, sir.
Marston, you watch after her.
And tells us to head back to the ranch. And when we arrive, we find that someone has kindly set the barn on fire, so we have to parkour up and get inside to free all the horses, like the hero that we are. We go and chill outside, and Bonnie and John have a wholesome conversation.
John, my family owes you a great debt.
I think you got enough debt. You saved my life. All I ask of you is this. If I get back home and get my farm started back up, you'll sell me some cattle. I prefer doing business with people I know.
Of course, Mr. Marston.
And after this, we head back into Armadillo to see the sheriff, but when we arrive at the office, we find that Mr. McFarlane is there, asking about Bonnie as she has gone missing. Pretty quick turn of events.
Where's Bonnie?
I don't know. I haven't seen her since after the fire. Why?
Why? Because she hadn't been seen since yesterday afternoon. You know, I don't think I can cope. If I lose another child...
Now, Drew, nobody's lost anything yet.
Suddenly, an outlaw comes and asks for one of the prisoners, who is one of the top people in the gang, to be released, and in return, they'll give back Bonnie. He really rubs it in as well to make sure that we return the prisoner right away.
And I'm giving you the opportunity to get your daughter back before 15 friends of mine take out all their anger and their loneliness on her.
And we head over to Tumbleweed, which is an abandoned town nearby, and go and meet with the gang to make the deal. But of course, they're outlaws, and they don't want to play fair, so we have to kill them all and take Bonnie by force. Luckily, she's still alive, but looks a little bit beat up, but she's returned home safely.
If you think I'm gonna lower myself by making a joke about being all tied up, you got another thing coming. Come on.
Also, I thought I'd just mention this abandoned house, which used to scare the shit out of me when I was younger, and I actually returned to face my fears. But now that that's all out of the way, it's time to go meet Dickens' friend Seth. Now, Seth is a bit of a weird one, which you can first tell by the fact he's digging up graves. But he tells us he's been trying to find his old partner, which stole a map to a treasure that he won't tell us about.
It's mine! It's mine! All mine!
Sure.
We tell him get his old partner to help him find the map, and in return, he may be able to help us get into the fort that Bill is hiding in. Moses, Seth's old partner, is being held in a prison cell nearby, so we go and distract the deputies and then hogtie him as he tries to escape. Moses and Seth have a very touching reunion.
You've always been a twisty little freak. I ain't telling you shit.
Then I'm gonna cut you up piece by piece.
And Moses finally tells Seth where the map is.
Oddfellows Rest. It's in Oddfellows Rest.
Seth then agrees to help us in return when we next need it, and we go and meet back up with Dickens, and we ask him about his plan to help us with Bill, which he tries to get out of before we give him a little bit of persuasion.
A man who, if he doesn't help me, I won't think twice about putting a bullet through his skull.
He then convinces us to go and win a race to earn some money to be able to buy a cool and powerful machine gun from another old friend he has called Irish. I think you can guess where he's from. We find Irish in a bit of a predicament around the back of the saloon in Armadillo.
Yes, boyo. You messed up properly this time, didn't you? You little paddy bastard.
Of course we need him, so we try and convince these kind gentlemen to let him go, which doesn't end up working.
Fuck off, boyo. This don't concern you.
So we have to deal with them. We ask him about the machine gun that he supposedly has possession of.
What about the gun?
It'd be my pleasure.
And it turns out some bandits have stole it and are hiding it in a cabin nearby. So we follow Irish to their location, take them all out to be able to search the cabin for the gun, but the little shit lied to us and the gun is not here. Obviously John is really pissed off.
That lying sack of shit.
And goes after Irish, and we find him drunk outside the back of a train station, truly living up to his name. And we threaten him to give us the Gatling gun, or else.
I want to tell you that if you don't produce a Gatling gun within the hour, you'll wish you'd been killed back there.
And he agrees to actually take us to it this time. This time we head to a camp outside of a mine and have to kill all of the miners, ER, not OR, by the way, and then make our way underground to get to the Gatling gun. We find it stored in a minecart and have to push it all the way back to the top whilst also trying not to get killed. But luckily, we can use some momentum to ride the cart like a little roller coaster and eventually get back outside to a wagon that Irish takes away to safely hide it until we need it. The next time we see Irish, he's in a little swamp town trying to rob some nuns. It looks like all of this drinking has made him forget who we are, but we quickly remind him.
I'm your old friend Amnesia.
And the reason we're back talking to him is because the Gatling gun isn't working and needs more parts to be able to function. Irish takes us to a warehouse nearby to go and save his friend Shaky. Why is he called Shaky? Well, you'll find out soon enough. We get onto the roof of the warehouse and sneak in through an open window. We take out all the men and get Shaky free.
Thank you for your kindness, mister. I thought I was dead, man.
And then Shaky takes us to the parts and ammunition needed for the Gatling gun, which now means that it's ready to use for when we return to Bill's fort. We go back and meet up with Seth at the cemetery and find him doing some questionable things. He goes on about who else might have stolen the other half of the map from him.
I realized Moses were no liar. The issue was Aiden O'Leary.
And then pulls a Will from Stranger Things.
I don't like women, partner.
He takes us back to the abandoned town Tumbleweed and finds the full map to the treasure on a body. It happens to be in the abandoned mansion that we saw earlier. Unfortunately though, there's some other bandits who have found out where the treasure is, so we need to kill them to be able to get to it. But finally, Seth gets to the treasure that he's thrown his whole life away to find, but it's not really the riches that he'd hoped for.
Goddamn hell is this? A glass eye.
I'm sure whoever that belonged to treasured it very much.
And with his live stream now lost, he decides to agree to help us with getting to Bill. Soon after that, we meet back up with Dickens, who is trying to sell his magical cures again, but this time it backfires and some previous customers come back to expose him.
This man is a fucking charlatan. He just got done swindling us down at Cho Springs with this song and dance. I say we tar and feather him right now. I say we shoot the bastard.
We then have to save him yet another time and take him to a quiet area near this big rock. And the next day, Dickens tells us we need more cash to be able to turn his wagon into a Trojan horse type thing with the Gatling gun inside. To do this, we have to win another race for him, which we pass with flying colours, and Dickens finally tells us that he has enough to assemble the wagon, and now it's time to meet the whole team back at the fort where Bill is residing. We sit outside the fort and can see that Seth has made himself inside, and now we hide inside of Dickens' wagon, and once inside the fort, we catch all of the outlaws by surprise and start shooting them all. Once the majority are dead, the sheriff and deputies also come inside and start killing everyone. But not only is Bill nowhere to be seen, there are also reinforcements coming that we now need to deal with. But after all the fighting, we find that one of the gang members has survived, and he tells us that Bill has gone to Mexico.
You'll never get him. Javier Escuela. He's gone to see Javier Escuela. That should make things interesting. Where in Mexico?
How should I know?
Irish says that he has some friends down south that can help us get across the border, and we say our goodbyes to the rest of the crew whilst the deputies enforce the law. This brings an end to an era in this county and the start of a new one in Mexico. To get to Mexico, we need to meet up with Irish and Dickens at a port on this giant river. This is where we also say our final goodbye to Dickens and wish him luck on his next journey.
Thank you. Where are you headed?
Oh, me? London or Paris or maybe Peking. I'm a traveling man, sir. This land is much too small for the likes of me.
Well, try not to get yourself killed.
Now what we need to do to get across is hop onto this little boat and pull ourselves with this rope.
Ruling the world. Look out!
Yeah, of course it wasn't going to be that easy. Mexico is kind of in a mess at the moment, and there's bandits literally everywhere who would love to kill and rob us. So we have to cut the rope and head downstream, but eventually we get to a quiet bit in the shore, and there's also conveniently some horses here which we can use. Irish tells us about a few of his friends that are currently in Mexico.
Met an American guy, saw him shoot a man, drank with him in the village of Chuparosa. Funny guy. Or was that Canada? No, that was Canada. Guy here, not funny, but he's real nice. Failing that, you could try the provincial governor, Colonel something or other, some Spanish name. He's based out of Escalera.
However, he can't give us much information due to his certain habits. He also bids us farewell, and we head to a little town to find Landon Ricketts. But the only people to welcome us are these dodgy-looking men who take our hats as any one right thing to do. This gets the attention of Ricketts, who scolds us for killing them kind gentlemen.
You kill peasants, you become a peasant.
But he decides to teach us a few tricks about shooting and tells John his name. And it turns out he was a famous gunslinger years ago, and John has actually heard of him before. This is when Ricketts also tells us about the current situation that is happening in Mexico.
This whole place is teeming with Americans on the run, mercenaries, locals hell-bent on revolution.
Revolution? Another one?
Yeah.
And there's also when the bank owner comes and asks Ricketts for help as their bank wagon has been attacked outside of the town. This is when Ricketts decides to give us a little exam to test us. Don't worry, we just have to shoot people and return the wagon back to the bank. I know some of you were getting flashbacks to sitting in a busy hall doing a maths paper. But after we pass our exam, we go and pay a visit to Captain DeSanta about meeting the Commodore. He seems a little bit threatening at first.
You come to my country, my poor little country, and you think you can be friends with the president?
Oh, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
But we quickly warm up to him.
Relax, relax.
And he tells us a bit more about what's currently going on in Mexico.
The rebels have seized the people by the throat and destroyed a way of life.
We ask him about Javier and Bill, and it turns out they are also trying to catch them, as they are currently working with the rebels that are against the government. First we need to help DeSanta though, and we do this by escorting a train with supplies that the rebels are trying to attack. We successfully do so, and then go and celebrate in a bar nearby, but the pesky little rebels sneak up on the guards and manage to steal the train. And so we have to go steal it back and stop it right before it nearly gets completely destroyed. And we head back to the little town where we were before. I'm not going to try and pronounce the areas in Mexico because I don't want to sound stupid or get cancelled. And here we see Ricketts speaking to some men who they think might have seen Javier and Bill, but they don't really have any good information on them, so it's not much help.
No sé, señor.
He doesn't know.
I got that bit. Ask him, was he about 5'8"? Mustache? Did he have an American in tow? A big American?
Emilio, the Stabacone. Grande Americano?
Yo no sé.
No.
Again, I got that.
But it turns out that one of the men's sisters have been captured by them, and he wants us to help go and save her. So we head over to a nearby cave, cause a distraction, and then kill everyone inside, and then escort Luisa, the sister, outside to safety. She tells us that she thinks she has heard of Javier's name in prison, meaning that he is still in Mexico, which is good news for John. We also go and save some prisoners that the army are transporting, and then say goodbye to Ricketts, a short but sweet relationship that I think John actually learnt a lot from. But after the goodbye, we head back to the government estate and accidentally run over an officer and have to spend a night in a cell. But after that, we go and speak to DeSanta, who's getting told off by his boss at the moment, and he asks us if we have found our targets yet, which obviously we haven't. But we ask him if he knows anything, and he goes on a bit of a rampage.
My people have lived and worked here for 100 years. We brought civilization. And these people, these fucking monkeys, despise us. We brought them God!
And then says he'll find Bill and Javier if we help him with something else.
You are in no position to negotiate.
So we head off to a rebel base nearby and take out all the residents, and to add a cherry on top, we've burned down all of their houses, which, yeah, I think the minus honour is fair. And then we also head off with DeSanta to go and take down a rebel fort that's hidden in these giant rocks. Now, after doing all of this, John is starting to get a bit pissed off that he hasn't heard any information about Bill or Javier.
The next time I see you, I need some answers, Captain.
Which I think is rightfully so. The next time we see DeSanta is back at the government's estate where they are recruiting girls, but we get told if we do this final quest for him, then they will send out a reward for anyone who has information on where John's targets are.
Okay then.
Mexico loves you, Mr. Martin.
She has a funny way of showing it.
And so we set out to defend this convoy from rebels and then have to escort a train back to a remote area, but we get to use his Gatling gun, so that's pretty fun. We leave DeSanta for now and go and meet up with the woman we saved earlier, Luisa, and she's chilling in a little remote house with her family. And she tells us that there's another revolution that is about to happen in Mexico.
This time, we hope it's the last time.
Does that seem likely?
With Abraham Reyes, anything is possible.
And she asks for us to take her little sister to the docks to get her away from all of it. Being the kind gentlemen that we are, we agree and transport her there before sundown. And when we come back to Luisa, we find her stood next to her house, which has been burnt down, and she tells us that her lover, Reyes, has been captured in an ambush.
My heart is breaking, but I cry for Mexico.
Where's he being held?
We again agreed to go sneak into a fort where he's being held and rescue him. We return him back to Luisa and they have a romantic reunion. However, we can't stay long and we need to head back to the governor, and this is where we see how much of a not so nice guy he is.
Magnificent. Now save her for later, or I'll kill her and all her family.
But this doesn't matter because he tells us that Javier and Bill have been spotted in the same little town we were previously, and we head over to the church to go finish them off once and for all. However, when we're there, they are nowhere to be seen and we get knocked out by one of the soldiers. We wake up tied by our hands, and it's clear that DeSanta knows that we helped Reyes escape and he is not happy about it.
You have betrayed this land enough. I hope you have a clear conscience, because you're about to meet God.
Luckily though, Reyes returns the favour and comes to now save us this time. Now, we don't get to kill DeSanta, but we do get to kill one of his right-hand men, which we'll do for now. But we come outside to see Reyes giving a speech to the rebels, but John really isn't interested in any of this. And so we leave to go meet up with Luisa, who tells us that her father has been killed, and she wants us to help attack an army convoy that is nearby. John tells her that he doesn't want to get wrapped up in a revolution, but does it out of respect to her loss. And, of course, we're going to take the opportunity to blow up stuff with dynamite. So we go out and wait for the convoy to arrive, and after that we go back to Luisa, and she tells us that DeSanta has been sent nearby to go and kill some rebels.
Come, we must stop him and finally kill that vermin and all of Allende's other followers.
And of course, because DeSanta tried to kill us, we jump at the opportunity to go and return the favour. We head over to the cemetery where he is and kill all the officers, and Santa pushes out and tries to run away, but we capture him and take him back to the rebels so we can question him on Javier and Bill's whereabouts.
Where is Javier Escuela?
And then we let the rebels have the satisfaction of ending him. We then head to where Javier is said to be, shoot up the whole place, but we still can't find him, and then ask this lovely lady where he is.
Javier Escuela. He hasn't been seen around here in months. You shut up this place for him, huh? I wouldn't spit on him if he was on fire.
Then we go and meet up with Reyes. He wants us to run some errands for him to help with the revolution. First we go rob a train to go get access to some valuables in this very easy to open safe, and then meet up with him in a bar where he is spending time with another woman, which shows he's a bit of a player and doesn't really want to tie himself down with one person.
What would your most loyal follower, Luisa, say about that? Who? Luisa, the girl from Campo Murata?
A gentleman never tells, but she was a most wonderful... I just say she was increíble. Yes. Let me tell you something. I strongly recommend her. You take her when you have the chance, my brother.
Anyways, we go with him in this wagon full of explosives. Yeah, I couldn't help myself when I was playing. But we ram into this gate of the fort where Javier is actually meant to be hiding out. We deal with everyone inside and eventually run into Javier. He tries to get John on his side, probably because he's held at gunpoint.
Come on, you're not gonna shoot your own brother, are you? We was family.
Yeah, we were. Then you and Dutch went crazy and family didn't mean so much.
But then manages to escape out the window. But eventually, we catch him and kill him, putting an end to the search for one of our targets, leaving only Bill Williamson left. After we have dealt with the army that aren't happy we stormed their fort, we meet back up with the 2 government agents that we saw at the beginning of the game and hand them Javier's body.
I must say, he's not looking very healthy. We told you to keep them alive.
You should be glad to have him at all.
Just remember your obligations to the government.
They tell us that Dutch van der Linde is potentially in the area of Blackwater, a city in the county we were previously in. Now this is important because Dutch was the leader of the gang that John used to be a part of, and is probably the most important person who could get in the way of his freedom. But we still have Bill to take care of, so we meet up with Reyes and get ready to storm the governor's estate, which is the last act that the rebels need to do before they can take full control of Mexico. We go back to the estate and make our way through the rest of the army that are trying to hold us back from getting inside, and we see Reyes is held by some officers and try to calm things down before Luisa comes and tries to save him herself. Yeah, she probably should have thought that through. But after this, we're able to get to the front door and break in, which is where we see Bill and the governor escaping. We chase after them, take down their wagon, and eventually end Bill and the governor, meaning John has now taken out all of his targets, and Reyes has completed his revolution against the government. Reyes mourns the death of Luisa.
Who was she again?
Your peasant girl wife-to-be?
Oh, yes, of course. She will have a day named after her. Laura's Day.
Luisa.
What? Oh, yes, I knew Laura as well.
Kind of. And we leave to go and meet with the government agents back in Blackwater. Now, it's safe to say that these agents are complete dicks.
No one's playing games with you, Mr. Marston. But if we were to play some games, there'd be some interesting ones we could play.
Thanks, sir.
Like hanging you for murder. Or confiscating all your property, like that little farm of yours, or having you put in an electric chair. Those are the sort of games we could play.
And are still holding John's family captive until he has done everything that they ask of him. And what they now want him to do is track down and kill Dutch van der Linde. But they promise that after he's done this for them, he will be returned back to his family. Now the process of finding Dutch is quite long-winded because he is a very smart and sneaky individual. We first get an informant who tells us where he will be, who ends up being tied and nearly beaten to death. And then the first confrontation we have with him is when Dutch is trying to kill Dr. McDougal, who is a person we meet in Blackwater, and we try and negotiate with him, but he doesn't seem too interested.
You and your friend there, the professor, we're gonna kill the both of you.
However, we manage to get him away to safety, and Dutch escapes again. And then the next interaction we have with him is when he tries to rob a bank in Blackwater, and this time it looks like we have him, but he manages to get hold of a hostage. And also has some nice words to say about John's family.
You know, gentlemen, this man here, oh, he married a whore.
And then gets away again. But finally, with the help of the entire army, we managed to get to a fort in the mountains where Dutch is hiding, and after making our way through his whole gang, we can finally confront him one-on-one. John and Dutch have a conversation, which is quite touching considering they used to be some sort of family to one another.
You see?
Then I have to shoot you.
When I'm gone, they'll just find another monster. They have to. Because they have to justify their wages.
That's their business.
Our time has passed, John.
And then Dutch decides his own fate and says goodbye to John. This now means that John can finally go home to his wife and child and say a sweet goodbye to the agents.
Thank you, Mr. Marston, for everything. I know this wasn't easy for you, but I have to say, you've done your country proud.
John returns back to our ranch nearby to see his wife Abigail and son Jack waiting for him. His old gang friend Uncle is also here and has been looking after the two in John's absence. A very long awaited and touching reunion which is a satisfying end to John's career as a gunslinger. John spends time with Abigail, helping her around the farm and introducing her to Bonnie when returning to McFarland Ranch to get some cattle. And he also spends some quality time with Jack, which is strange for Jack as John has been away for so long and has built up some resentment towards him. But after some time, that fades and they start to build a strong relationship with one another. However, this is disrupted one day when the army turns up at the farm and John has to defend his land and family from them. However, during this fight, Uncle is shot and passes away, and John takes his family into the barn to tell them to leave on a horse before standing down with a large group of officers and the 2 government agents that he was previously working with. John tries to take them all down, but they are too much for him, and he is eventually defeated. Abigail and Jack return to the farm after some time to find John laying there, passed away. We cut to a few years later, where we see a grave of John Marston, and next to it is his wife's Abigail, who died a few years later. And standing in front of them is Jack, who is a few years older now and is about to start his own journey, which brings an end to the story of John Marston and Red Dead Redemption. I know I'm sure a lot of you have played Red Dead Redemption 2, which as we know is a prequel to this game, but I think when I compared the story between Arthur Morgan and John Marston, they're both interesting and amazing in their own right. But I think John's story is a truly tragic one, after being betrayed by the government and having his life ended so soon after being reunited with his family. But let me know which one you think is better and if you think Jack should get his own story. And I'm sure some of you can start fighting about it.